Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing your phone doesn't work, your laptop stops updating, cars stops being manufactured, and even fighter jets and satellites cannot function. All because of something smaller than a fingernail, a semiconductor chip. Today, countries are not just fighting wars with weapons, they are fighting for control over microchips. That is the tiny brain behind modern technology. The global struggle is called the chip war, and it may decide who controls the future of technology, artificial intelligence, and military power. Semiconductors were first developed in the United States in 1950s when companies like Intel and Texas Instruments began designing chips for computers. Over time, the industry became global. The US dominated the designing of chip, Taiwan and South Korea became the manufacturing giants, and China became the world's largest consumers of chips. Today, chips power everything: smartphones, cars, medical equipment, satellites, and even missile systems. And the most shocking fact is, over 90% of the world's most advanced chips are being produced by a single company, TSMC in Taiwan. That means, if something happens in Taiwan, the entire global tech supply chain collapses, and this vulnerability is what triggered what we know, and we call it the global chip war. The biggest rivalry in this semiconductor race is between United States and China. China currently spends over $300 billion every year importing chips. More than that, it spends on oil. To reduce this dependence, China launched an ambitious strategy called Made in China 2025. Beijing has invested over $115 billion to build its own semiconductor industry. But the United States sees advanced chips as a national security issue. In 2022, the US passed the CHIPS and Science Act, investing $52 billion to boost domestic chip manufacturing. Even more importantly, the US imposed export restrictions to prevent China from accessing advanced chip technology and manufacturing equipment. This means that Chinese companies cannot easily obtain machines needed to produce cutting edge chips. As a result, the semiconductor industry has become a geopolitical battleground, and for that, Taiwan sits at the center of this conflict. The Taiwanese company TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, produces the most advanced chips in the world, used by companies like Apple, Nvidia, and Qualcomm. Because of this, Taiwan is often called the Silicon Shield. If China were to control Taiwan, it would potentially gain control over the world's most advanced semiconductor production. That is one of the reasons why the United States strongly supports Taiwan and its security. While the US and China compete for dominance, India is trying to enter the semiconductor race. India imports almost all of its semiconductor chips, making the country vulnerable to global supply disruptions. To change this, the Indian government launched the India Semiconductor Mission in 2021, allocating around $10 billion to build a domestic semiconductor ecosystem. Several projects are already underway. For example, Micron Technology announced $2.75 billion semiconductor facility in Gujarat, focused on chip packaging and testing. India is also partnering with countries like Japan, the US, and Taiwan to develop supply chain and reduce dependence on China. While India may not become a chip manufacturing giant immediately, experts believe it can become a major hub for chip designing, packaging, and research. And the importance of chips became very clear during the global chip shortage in 2020 to 2022. Automobile companies around the world had to stop production because they could not get enough semiconductors. Companies like Ford and General Motors lost billions of dollars and car prices increased globally. This showed that semiconductors are not just tech components, they are actually critical infrastructure for the global economy. So, what's next? The semiconductor war is likely to shape global politics for decades now, and experts already predict that the world may split into two technological blocks: a US-led technology ecosystem and a China-led technological system. Meanwhile, countries like Japan, India, South Korea and the European Union are already racing to build their own semiconductor supply chain. Because in the 21st century, the countries that control chips may ultimately control artificial intelligence, military technology and economic power. For more such informative videos, stay tuned and keep watching Pinnacle Tales. Thank you.